Legal object or consideration. According to Section 10 of the Act, a contract must have lawful object and lawful consideration. If contract does not have lawful object or lawful consideration, then it becomes illegal and therefore void. Now, what considerations and objects are unlawful? This is given under Section 23 of the Act. According to Section 23, the consideration or the object of an agreement is unlawful in the following cases. First, when it is forbidden by law. Obviously, it's common sense that, if you do something that is forbidden by law, it automatically becomes illegal or unlawful. An act is considered to be forbidden by law if it is punishable by the criminal law of the country, or when it is prohibited by special legislation or regulations. For example, if there is an agreement to kill someone, then this is forbidden by law, as killing someone is a punishable offense under the law. Similarly, if there are some special legislation, say environment legislation, that puts a ban on the use of plastic bags, then any contract for the manufacturing or sale or purchase of plastic bags will be forbidden by law and therefore unlawful or illegal. Second, an agreement is of such nature that, if permitted, would defeat the provisions of any law. Here, the terms of a contract is not unlawful or illegal in itself. But, if the terms and conditions of such a contract is allowed to take effect, then it would lead to the violation of any other law. For example, an agreement between debtor and creditor, where debtor is prohibited to make an appeal in the court, will be in violation of the Civil Procedure Code, 1908, as right of appeal is specifically given by the code and cannot be curtailed by an agreement. Such an agreement will be void. Third, if the agreement is fraudulent. This means if there is an agreement, whole objective, or consideration of which is to defraud others, then it will be unlawful agreement. For example, Mr. A agrees to pay Mr. B 10,000 rupees if Mr. B commits a fraud on Mr. C. This agreement will be called fraudulent and will be unlawful, as the objective of the agreement is to commit fraud on Mr. C. Fourth, if the agreement involves or implies injury to the person or property of another, it will be unlawful and therefore void. For example, an agreement to beat a man is void. Similarly, an agreement to destroy someone's property is void. Also, an agreement between creditor and debtor, where the debtor, who owed some money to the creditor, agreed to do manual labor for the creditor without pay, until the entire amount is paid, has been held to be void on the ground that it involves injury to the other person. Fifth, if the court regards agreement as immoral. The word immoral here would include a sexual immorality like illicit cohabitation, prostitution, or concubinage. B. Furtherance of sexual immorality. For example, if someone lets out his house for rent for the purpose of prostitution, then he cannot recover the rent, as the agreement will be void. See interference with marital relations. For example, an agreement that requires separation of husband and wife as the consideration for the agreement would be void on the grounds of immorality. D. Any acts which are against good public morals will be considered immoral. Sixth, if the court regards it as opposed to the public policy. Public policy may mean anything which is in the interest of the society. For example, any act of promoting or encouraging corruption will be considered as opposed to public policy. Now, so far we have discussed the scenarios where the agreement is unlawful in its entirety. But suppose, if there is a scenario that involves multiple acts to be performed under an agreement, but some of the acts are illegal, and some are legal. What will happen to such a contract? Will it be illegal completely, or will it be legal? Sections 24, 57, and 58 deals with such cases. According to Section 24, if there are several acts involved in an agreement, some of which are illegal and some of which are legal, and the legal part cannot be separated from illegal part, then, in such cases, entire agreement will be illegal and void. For example, Mr. A hires Mr. B to manufacture medicines as well as illegal drugs, for a salary of 50,000 rupees. Such an agreement will be void as the illegal part cannot be separated from the legal part, because there is a single sum of money paid for both these acts. Now, according to section 57, if there are several acts involved in an agreement, some of which are illegal and some of which are legal, and the legal part can be separated from illegal part, then in such cases, legal part will be the contract and illegal part will be void. For example, Mr. A hires Mr. B to manufacture medicines for which he gets a professional fees of 30,000 rupees. He also manufactures a few illegal drugs for Mr. A for which he gets a fees of 40,000 rupees. Here, manufacturing of medicines will be a lawful contract and manufacturing of illegal drugs will be unlawful and void. Therefore, if Mr. A does not pay Mr. B his fees of 40,000 for manufacturing of illegal drugs, then Mr. B cannot approach the court for relief as the agreement is unlawful and void. Hope this is clear.